Hey there, welcome back to the channel. They regret it, but they'll never admit it. And that's the part that keeps you questioning, because they're not reaching out. They're not explaining. They're not apologizing. So you wonder, did they even care? Were the memories real? Did I ever matter to them at all? But I'll tell you this. When someone loses something they once took for granted, the silence that follows isn't peace. It's punishment. Not for you, for them. Because regret doesn't always look like a message in your inbox. Sometimes it looks like quiet suffering behind a proud face. You see, people rarely announce their remorse, especially the ones who caused the damage. Admitting regret would mean confronting the truth, that they broke something beautiful. And not everyone has the courage to look at the wreckage they caused and say, "That was my fault." So instead, they pretend. They act like they're unbothered. They post pictures. They laugh louder. They move on quickly, not because they've healed, but because they're running from themselves, from the shame, from the reality that they let go of someone who actually cared. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. They remember everything. The way you looked at them, the way you spoke life into them when they were at their lowest, the way you stayed loyal when they gave you every reason to walk away. They remember, and they regret not matching your effort. They regret not growing when you gave them space to. They regret breaking something they now realize they can't replace. But instead of admitting it, they hide behind ego. Because it's easier to pretend you didn't matter than to confess they failed to appreciate you. Most people don't regret you when they leave. They regret you when they realize no one else makes them feel safe the way you did. No one else sees them through the same lens of compassion. No one else shows up with the same consistency. That's when it hits them, quietly, painfully. And by then, they're too proud to say it, or too afraid you've moved on. So, if you're still looking for closure, stop. If you're still hoping they'll come back just to say, "I was wrong," don't hold your breath. Some people would rather suffer in silence than humble themselves in truth, and that's not your burden to carry. This video isn't about waiting for an apology. It's about recognizing the signs that someone deeply regrets their actions, even if their pride will never let the words leave their mouth. And more importantly, this is about you taking your power back. Because you deserve peace, you deserve clarity, and you deserve to walk forward without dragging their silence behind you like chains. Today, we're diving into 7 clear signs that they regret what they did, and how you can stand tall in that truth without ever needing their confession. Now, I want you to drop this in the comments right now. Their silence will never define my worth. Let's get into it. Number 1, their energy shift, even if their words don't. Regret doesn't always walk through the front door. Sometimes it lingers quietly in the shadows, hoping to be noticed without having to be exposed. That's exactly how people behave when they regret losing you but refuse to admit it. They won't say, "I miss you." They won't say, "I was wrong." But their energy will start whispering everything their mouth is too proud to confess. It begins subtly. They won't reach out, but suddenly they're watching your stories. Not once, not twice, but consistently. They'll stay silent, but you'll see their digital fingerprints on your timeline. A like on a 6-month-old post, an accidental follow, a vague quote about regret or timing, posted 2 hours after you posted something powerful about moving on. This is no coincidence, it's calculated. They want you to feel them without them having to confront you, because facing you means facing the truth, and they're not ready for that. They might tell people they're doing fine. They might even start dating someone else to prove a point. But behind closed doors, They're checking your page before bed. They're asking mutual friends how you're doing. They're reading your captions like they're decoding a message meant for them, because part of them knows they messed up, and the other part is praying you haven't realized just how deeply. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." The same applies here. When someone who regrets losing you tries to stir your emotions through passive energy, digital presence, or indirect mentions, they're trying to provoke a reaction. They're hoping you'll break your silence, that you'll validate their regret by reaching out first. But you must remain still. You must remain unmoved, because your stillness is louder than any comeback. Their regret is not a call to re-engage. It's not a green light to return. It's a reflection of the emotional weight they're now carrying because of what they lost. And if you let their shifting energy pull you back into old patterns, you'll end up back in the very space you fought to rise from. Don't let that happen. Just because they're watching doesn't mean they deserve a response. Just because their energy is shifting doesn't mean your path should. You see, real growth doesn't need to announce itself. And real peace doesn't chase validation. So when their energy starts shifting toward you, let it. Let them feel the distance they created. Let them sit with the silence they once underestimated. You are no longer available for unspoken apologies and half-hearted attention. If they truly wanted to make things right, they'd show up with clarity and accountability. But if all they're offering is silent regret disguised as social media curiosity, don't interpret that as progress. Interpret it as proof that your absence is echoing louder than your presence ever did. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them carry the weight of unspoken remorse. And I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am the storm they tried to silence. Let's keep going. Number 2, they try to replace you and fail miserably. When someone realizes they've let go of something rare, their first instinct isn't always to self-reflect. It's to substitute. They scramble to find someone new, hoping the void you left can be filled with quick affection and surface-level connection. But deep down, they know they're not moving forward. They're running in circles. Because no matter how hard they try, they can't recreate the depth, the loyalty, the presence you brought into their life. You weren't just a moment. They made memories with you. They felt safe with you. And now that safety is gone. So they search for a shortcut back to wholeness, and that usually looks like jumping into something new before they've even processed what they lost. They post happy photos, share forced smiles, and try to convince the world and themselves that they've upgraded. But behind every post is an echo of your absence. Behind every caption is a comparison they don't want to admit they're making, because nothing feels the same. No laugh sounds like yours, no conversations run as deep, no presence is as grounding, and they know it, but their pride won't let them say it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." But they haven't learned that yet, because instead of sitting with the pain, they're outsourcing their healing. Instead of taking accountability, they're using someone else as an emotional crutch. And it shows. Because real peace can't be faked, and real healing doesn't come with rebound relationships. It comes with self-confrontation, something they're too afraid to do. You were their emotional anchor. You were their calm in the storm. And now that you've pulled away, they're realizing just how much they depended on your light to mask their own darkness. That new relationship isn't proof that they've moved on. It's proof that they're uncomfortable being alone. Because if they truly felt peace in your absence, they wouldn't still be watching your every move. They wouldn't still be bothered by your growth, triggered by your success, or shaken by your glow-up. They wouldn't feel the need to perform happiness. They'd actually have it. So don't be fooled by the highlight reel. Don't mistake their quick replacement for emotional progress. They're not replacing you. They're avoiding themselves. And the more they try to force a connection that doesn't fit, the more obvious it becomes. They're haunted by what they gave up. And while they try to replicate what you gave so freely, they're starting to understand that not everyone brings peace. Not everyone listens without judgment. Not everyone loves without condition. You were the exception. And now, they're living in the reality of that truth. Let them keep searching. Let them keep pretending. Let them exhaust every attempt to replicate what was real. Because when all the noise dies down and the distractions fall apart, they'll still be left with one truth. They lost something they may never find again. Number 3, their silence is loud, because their guilt is louder. When someone truly doesn't care, their silence is effortless. They move on without hesitation, without confusion, without looking back. But when someone carries guilt, real guilt, their silence becomes a battlefield. It's not peace they feel when they don't reach out. It's pressure. It's that tightness in their chest when your name comes up. It's the sting of knowing they had something pure and destroyed it. So they don't speak. Not because they've forgotten you, but because remembering you hurts more than pretending you never existed. They avoid you not because they've healed, but because the weight of what they've done makes it impossible to face you without shame. They scroll past your photos, linger on your stories, and wonder what it would take to undo what they've done. But instead of stepping into that discomfort, they bury it, because guilt has a voice, and it screams when everything else is silent. Their silence isn't power, it's paralysis. It's the inability to confront the mirror of your memory, because if they did, they'd have to admit something they're not ready to say, that they broke something beautiful, and now they can't fix it. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That's exactly what's happening behind their silence. They suffer through the what-ifs, the might-have-beens, the quiet collapse of the story they once had with you. They may never confess it out loud, but every time they pass by a place that reminds them of you, every time a song you loved plays randomly, every time they feel alone in a crowded room, they're reminded not just of you, but of how they lost someone who actually cared. And the guilt doesn't just whisper, it echoes. And that's why they avoid you. That's why they don't check in. That's why they don't send that apology you deserved. Because to do so would mean acknowledging that you mattered more than they admitted. It would mean dropping the act. It would mean facing the fact that they chose ego over empathy. And for some people, especially those not used to accountability, that is unbearable. But don't let that silence confuse you. Don't sit there wondering if it meant you weren't enough. Because silence isn't always indifference. Sometimes it's the only thing they can manage while drowning in the consequences of their actions. You didn't lose them. They lost you. And now they live in the prison of that truth. No bars, no chains. Just the heavy echo of guilt they carry every time they hear your name. Let them stay silent. You don't need their words. You've got your peace, you've got your dignity, and you've got your power back. Sometimes the most painful goodbyes are the ones that never get spoken, but you can still rise without closure. Drop this in the comments. Their silence is my freedom, not my rejection. Number 4, they try to trigger a reaction without taking accountability. When someone regrets their actions but lacks the courage to admit their mistakes, their approach becomes manipulative. Instead of owning up to their wrongs, they'll attempt to provoke a reaction from you. This can be done through cryptic social media posts, vague messages, or little things that make you stop and wonder, are they thinking about me? They know exactly what they're doing. They don't want closure. They want reassurance. Reassurance that you still care. Reassurance that they still matter to you. But they'll never give you the apology you deserve. They'll never admit how deeply they hurt you. Instead, they'll leave you hanging, dangling in uncertainty, hoping you'll bite. But here's the reality. Their goal isn't to reconcile. It's to soothe their own guilt. They're fishing for a sign that you still care, and they're testing how far they can go without actually addressing the hurt they've caused. But here's the truth. You need to understand, anyone who is not willing to take full accountability for their actions doesn't deserve to have access to your emotions. They may throw breadcrumbs to keep you hooked, just enough to keep your attention without giving you any substance in return. But love is not about playing games or waiting for crumbs. Love is about respect, honesty, and vulnerability. A person who regrets their actions would do more than post vague messages. They would show up with an apology. They would own their mistakes. They would show the courage to face the pain they caused and offer healing, not just curiosity. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And this is where your power lies. You have control over your reaction. When they attempt to trigger a response, when they send that message or make that passive-aggressive post, it's not an invitation for you to engage. It's an opportunity for you to choose a higher path. A path where you do not respond to their attempts at manipulation. A path where your peace is more important than their need for validation. You see, triggering a reaction from you without taking responsibility for the damage they caused is just another form of manipulation. They want you to feel something so they can regain control over your emotions. They want you to chase after their breadcrumbs, to fill their void without ever giving you the closure you deserve. But don't fall for it. Don't let them control the narrative. Don't let their attempt at pulling you back in become a distraction from your own growth. It's not about their games. It's about you and your power. It's about your ability to walk away, to reclaim your peace, to heal without needing their validation. So when they try to trigger a reaction, simply don't respond. Let your growth speak louder than their silence. Let your peace shine brighter than their manipulative tactics. When you don't give them the satisfaction of a response, you take the power back. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I don't respond to noise. I protect my peace. Let their silence fuel your strength. Let their attempts to manipulate you remind you of the immense power you hold in choosing not to engage. You're not waiting for their approval. You're not waiting for their apology. You've already healed, and your peace is the most powerful response they will ever receive. Number 5. They start repeating your words, but not living your standards. It's a subtle move that can easily slip under the radar. The person who once dismissed your advice now starts echoing your words. Suddenly, they're using the very phrases you once said to them. They quote the wisdom you shared, almost as if they've had an epiphany. But here's the truth. Repeating your words isn't the same as embodying your standards. Their regret shows in this mimicry. They regret not listening when you tried to teach them. They regret ignoring the valuable lessons you offered. But instead of returning to you with real change, they return with rehearsed lines. They've memorized what you said, but they haven't done the work to grow into what you hoped they would become. They've polished their speech, but their actions, they remain unchanged. This is a classic case of borrowed growth. You can't fake genuine self-improvement. True transformation is visible in the way someone lives, not in the words they use. Anyone can say the right things, but only those who are truly committed to personal growth can embody the values they once ignored. Repeating your words is easy. Living up to your standards, that's where the real test lies. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The people who regret losing you may repeat the phrases you once shared, but if their actions still don't align with the standards you set, it means they've only absorbed your wisdom at a surface level. They haven't done the hard work of transformation. Words are meaningless without the integrity to back them up. Your standards were never negotiable. They were designed to protect your peace and self-worth. If they didn't meet those standards before, they won't magically meet them now just by repeating what you said. And you should never lower those standards because of flattery or empty words. Respect for your standards is proven through action, not imitation. When you set high expectations for the way you deserve to be treated, you raise the bar, not only for those around you, but for yourself as well. If someone truly regrets their actions, they will show up differently. They will make a genuine effort to match the growth they've witnessed in you. But if they're still only parroting your words, it's a sign that they haven't done the necessary work to change. They're simply trying to take shortcuts. So don't let yourself be swayed by borrowed wisdom. Actions speak louder than words, and your standards should never be lowered for anyone, especially someone who couldn't respect them the first time around. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I set the standard, and I don't lower it for anyone. Remember, you are the example of growth, and your standards are non-negotiable. If they truly regret their actions, they'll show up with the consistency of their transformation, not the rehearsed lines they think will win you over. Keep your boundaries intact and let them prove they've changed through actions, not words. Number 6, they keep tabs on you but can't face you. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't be lingering in the background of your life. That fake account they created to spy on you, the random accidental view on your story, it's not an accident. And that mutual friend suddenly bringing up your name out of nowhere, it's all part of the same pattern. It's not about curiosity, it's about cowardice. They regret losing you, but they're too prideful to admit it, too ashamed to face you and say, "I messed up." Instead, they'll watch from the shadows. They'll observe your life, hoping for any sign that you're still stuck, still hurt, still pining after them. But here's the truth. Their silence and their watching aren't signs of strength. They're signs of weakness. They can't handle confronting the reality of their mistake, so they keep their distance, peeking in from the outside. This behavior isn't about them moving on or finding peace. It's about them trying to keep a sense of control. They want to see if you're still affected by them, if you're still waiting for them to come back, or if they still have a hold over your emotions. But the most powerful response you can give them is to thrive in silence. By thriving in silence, you take away their power. They expected you to break, to chase them, to fall apart without them. But when you choose peace over pettiness, when you focus on your own growth and healing, you show them that you've moved on, without ever saying a word. And that, right there, is when their regret begins to hit them harder than anything else. Because when they realize they no longer occupy your mind, when they see that you're living your best life without them, they'll finally understand the weight of their decision. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Your bravery in choosing peace over drama, your decision to protect your energy and your boundaries, is exactly what they never expected. They thought they had you figured out. They thought you'd always be there, waiting for them to come back and save you. But when you choose to let go, to walk away, to stop chasing, that's when their world starts to crumble. because now they realize they're no longer the center of your universe. And that's a reality they didn't see coming. Keep moving forward. Let their silent watching remind you of your worth. You're not here for their validation. You're here to thrive, to create a life full of peace, joy, and purpose. And when you show them that your peace doesn't depend on them, that's when the real regret will start to settle in. They may never admit it, but you'll know. You'll know that you've reclaimed your power. Number 7, they regret it deeply, but their ego is louder than their love. This is the hardest truth to swallow. Some people will carry their regret with them until the day they die, not because they don't feel it, but because their ego is too loud for them to ever admit it. They'll look back on their actions, replay the moments where they could have done better, and wonder how they let you slip away. They'll sit in rooms filled with your memories, hear your name, and pause. And sometimes they'll even dream about you, remembering the love you gave them. But here's the kicker: they'll never admit it. They'll never say they regret it. Why? Because doing so would require them to face their own flaws, to admit they were wrong, and not everyone has the strength to swallow that pride. Their inability to admit regret isn't because it doesn't exist. It's because their ego is louder than their love. And that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you've invested so much of your heart in someone who now acts like you didn't matter. But here's where you need to understand your worth. You don't need their apology to validate your value. You don't need them to admit they were wrong to feel redeemed. You've already done the work. You've already risen. You've already healed. And whether or not they admit their mistakes, you've become everything they thought you couldn't be. Strong, whole, and untouchable. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So stop allowing their lack of acknowledgement to define you. You don't need their validation, their recognition, or their apology to move on. You've moved on already. Their silence doesn't define your worth. Their regret doesn't diminish the strength you've built. What they can't face, you've already conquered. And every day that you choose peace, every day that you rise above their pride, you remind yourself and the world that you are untouchable by their ego. You see, the real power doesn't come from waiting for them to admit regret or apologize. The real power comes from taking full responsibility for your own healing and growth. You've done that. You've become the person you were meant to be, not because they finally came to their senses, but because you decided you deserved better. Their inability to admit regret doesn't change the fact that you are now whole. You are now complete. You don't need them to fill the void anymore. You've filled it yourself with the strength and wisdom you've gained from moving forward. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Their silence, that's beyond your control, but your peace, that's entirely yours to protect. Don't let their ego rob you of the peace you fought so hard to find. Keep moving forward, keep living your best life, because in the end, their regret won't matter. What matters is that you've reclaimed your power, your peace, and your worth. They regret it, but they'll never admit it. And that's okay, because your growth doesn't require their validation. Your healing doesn't need their apology, and your future has no room for the people who couldn't respect your value when they had the chance. You were never the one who lost. You were the lesson they'll never forget. And the deeper truth? They'll carry that regret longer than you ever carried the pain. So, if they come back, let your silence speak. If they stay gone, let your life shine. Either way, choose yourself every single time. If this video spoke to your soul, hit that subscribe button. Join a community that's rising, healing, and reclaiming power every day. Until next time, protect your peace, walk with power, and never forget who you are.